Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Xoxo, this is Xoxo Tarot, and in today's Pick a Card Stone Pile reading, we are going to be looking at your brain and specifically some negative thoughts that have been running through your brain recently. We're going to be looking at those with compassion and with care, and then we are going to be looking at what the truth behind these thoughts are so that you can help release them and remind yourself when you are thinking those things that they're not the truth, and just helping you see through the illusion of any negative thoughts you might be dealing with so that you can see the more loving, peaceful reality that is behind them so that you don't have to deal with as much stress, turmoil, any negative consequences from these negative thoughts. So with that being said, I do just want to say that as a disclaimer, obviously this is not a replacement for like therapy or anything like that. I am just a pair of talking hands on the internet trying to make your headspace a little bit nicer to you. But with that being said, I'm not sitting here trying to like therapize or anything. I'm just trying to make your life a little bit better and hopefully your headspace a little bit better. So with that being said, we have 3 different decks of tarot cards with different stones on top to choose from. So starting with the first deck of tarot cards, we are going to be using the Solis Divinity Tarot, and I have this mystery crystal on top because I tried to Google it and I could not find it anywhere. So if you know what this crystal is, let me know please. And then for pile 2, we are going to be using the Gold Foil Tarot, and I have this big old chunk of pyrite on top. I really do think this pyrite should be known as Big Chungus. So that's its name now. And then finally for pile 3, we are going to be using my trusty old reliable Rider-Waite deck, and on top I have this beautiful chunk of Celestite. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to decide which pile you feel most drawn to. It's absolutely okay to be drawn to more than one. The way to know if this resonates or not is literally if the thoughts that I am speaking about sound like ones similar to the ones in your head. If they are, then you found the right pile. If they're not, then I would choose a different one. But with that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed this reading. I really hope that this is helpful. Once you have picked your pile or piles, you can scroll down to the description box or the comment section where I'll have all the timestamps listed below, and I will see you in your reading. Hi there, pile 1. If you guys chose the mystery crystal, if you guys know what it is, let me know down below. And the Solis Divinity Tarot, I actually want to set this up so you can see it better. Then this is going to be your reading where you better call an ambulance, not for me, but for your brain, because we're about to fight your brain's negative thoughts together. So while I am shuffling, did I say this was what tarot deck this was? Well, it's down below anyway. While I'm shuffling, I'd really just want you to focus on the deck, and I'm just gonna set the intention that the most negative, destructive thoughts, the ones that truly aren't serving you the most, that those come out here. Obviously, if what I begin to describe sounds like your inner thoughts, then you found the right pile. If it doesn't, then this is not the pile for you. Feel free though, if you are drawn to more than one pile, to try more than one. It is quite possible that there could be other messages for you in different readings. Obviously, negative thoughts come in batches, and there's plenty of them. So if this reading hits and you're still drawn to other piles afterwards, feel free to check those out too, because there's nothing wrong with getting more good, loving guidance. Oh my gosh, these cards are going to rip my hands to shreds. Anyway, let's give it one more good shuffle. Okay, so Spirit, what negative thoughts does pile 1 need to see through at this time? Spirit, what negative thoughts do you want to bring to pile 1's attention? Okay, we have the Star, which is the opposite of negative. We have the Emperor. What other negative thoughts? Wow, okay, we have the Hierophant here. We have the Devil. Wow, okay. And one more. Holy crap. Okay, so not only did you get all major arcana cards, which is very interesting, but they all came out upright as well. I mean, I want to confirm there's like definitely reversals in here. So the biggest, this is actually so interesting because I will start off by saying we're going to use this deck to clarify, but I'm already getting so much. And I feel like the first thing, pile one, that we need to talk about is the fact that a lot of your negative thoughts are not stemming from you internally. I think they're actually stemming from your environment and the assumptions that you have about yourself and about your assumptions of others. Like, I think that there is a lot of external fears and a lot of external influences that are creating a lot of stress and strife in your life without even realizing it. And this could be a matter of comparison. And this could also be a matter of just differing opinions, differing perspectives that you have taken on, whether because they were given to you solicited or unsolicited, or just because of like the media and stuff like that. Yeah, wow, this is really fascinating. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use this oracle deck to clarify these and give us insight into these negative thoughts. So this is the Powers Essential Oils oracle deck. It's like kind of it's a pretty badass deck. I really like it. So we're going to use these to clarify and kind of just go down the row. But clearly there's a lot of significant influences in your life that may be having more of a toll on you than you realize. Some of these could be internal, but I feel like for a lot of you guys, a lot of these negative thoughts are stemming from, like, I don't feel like they're stemming originally from you. I feel like these are thoughts that are being planted in your head by outside influences, and then you are like building upon them. Your fears are building upon them. So let's start with the Star Spirit. What is the truth behind the negative thoughts of the Star? Okay, so we have two cards coming out, and before I flip them over, I think the first element of the Star that I want to talk about is the fact that I think a lot of your negative thoughts stem from the fact that you compare yourself unfairly to other people, and you also have this idealized image of who you think you should be versus who you actually are. And the outside influences, so these could be like celebrities, these could be influencers, these could even just be friends that you look up to, or like public figures you admire. I think that you compare yourselves negatively to them and hold yourself to their expectations, and any part of the idealized version of yourself that aligns with them. I definitely think that you look for like how you can bring that version of yourself out. But I think one thing that's not computing for you is the reality that a lot of what, you know, like celebrities and influencers say about their lives, like, are not actually true. Like, you know, there are so many ways in which people are doing like incredibly unhealthy and destructive things to themselves and pretending they're just like, you know, doing a normal healthy thing and like lying about it, you know what I mean? But let's look at these and see what they have to say. Yeah, wow. Okay, so first we have breath, with the trigger statement being I can't breathe, and the true statement being I open up to all possibility. And it says, you are ready to let go of the suffering so that you can take in new possibilities. Release so you can receive. And then we also have release, with the trigger statement being I have nothing left, and the true statement being I nurture myself. Dear one, it's time to settle and create sacred space where you can be. In that space of rest, healing will unfold. So I definitely feel like you have big plans for the future, and I don't know for you what they are, but I feel like there's a part of you that knows it's really important for you to be more confident in yourself and for you to be more willing to stand up for what you're passionate about and for what's important to you. I feel like you like, one of the most beautiful things is that you do have a lot of hope, and you know that like success and achievement and like whatever you want to do is possible. But I think actually one thing you may want to look at as well is how your self-esteem is tied into the idea of success, because I think one thing generating negativity within you is this idea that you're not successful now, and this idea that like you're not enough the way you are now, and that you will only be worthy, which this may not be something you consciously realize, but you may think that you'll only be worthy if/when you achieve certain things or you reach a certain milestone, and that's just not true. I also think that you have this tendency to project this beautiful, hopeful future as a way of like coping with the stress of reality. And I think I think the lines between reality and fantasy get kind of crossed in a way where it almost seems like your goals are further away than they actually are, because you're looking at the destination or you're looking at the outcome rather than looking at the process or journey to get there. And I really think that in this case, you may be having a hard time really believing in yourself, or facing the discomfort that comes with standing up for yourself, or, you know, going outside of your comfort zone, or putting yourself out there in uncomfortable, awkward ways. I feel like more than anything, a fear of the future could be really holding you back. And at the same time, it's like this fantasy of the future that is keeping you stuck in the fear of the future. Does that make sense? But here's the beautiful thing. There's so much healing coming. But that's the thing, it's not that the healing is coming, the healing's already happening. I feel like even recognizing how far you've come, and recognizing that you're not meant to like achieve everything in a day. And even then, if you achieve absolutely nothing from this moment on to the last moment that you are on this planet, your value and your worth do not change in the slightest. Like, achievement and success are not metrics of one's worth, or metrics of the value of one's life. And success and achievement in of itself are subjective definitions that don't necessarily that aren't necessarily important. It depends on who like the person is. Like, and success, for example, if a successful day for you is just getting out of bed, man, look at how successful you are. But if success for you is like this idea of having X amount of money, or this or that, you may want to take a step back and look at, am I really like, is that the truth of what I think success is? Or do I think those things will bring me a feeling of satisfaction that will tell me that I am successful? I feel like there's a lot here around recognizing that you're not trying to become yourself. You are yourself, and your life is unfolding in this beautiful, you know, chaotic way that you can't necessarily control, which we'll go move over to the Emperor. Because I think that there is a part of you that is really unwilling to let go of control, but at the same time, I think you have complete fear of being control in your life in the first place. It's like, I feel like there's a part of you that knows that you need to surrender more control, and there's a part of you that needs to be okay with uncertainty and with unknowns and with outcomes that you can't anticipate. But I feel like at the same time, there's a part of you that has gotten very comfortable in certain routines, or there could be like a father figure in your life. They don't even have to be a man, but they definitely have masculine energy, and they seem to be someone that you really respect. So they could be, you know, an elder in your life. They could be a boss. They could be someone that you respect, someone that you look up to, and someone that has a say, or had a say / control over your life. I do feel like this person, or these people, because this could represent more than one person, just authoritative, controlling energies in your life that you have been under or still are under, that one, maybe expect you to look at life a certain way, or to give you a lot of advice, and I would guess a lot of it is unsolicited, that brings more fear to you, because the advice that they're giving and the perspective that they have does not align with yours, and it makes you doubt yourself, and it makes you afraid, and it makes you even more afraid of losing control, because now you don't even trust yourself to like be able to follow what feels right for you, because you're doubting that truth because someone in a position of authority has a different perspective. So let's see what you need to know about this Emperor energy. So Spirit, can you clarify the negative thoughts around this Emperor energy? Yeah. Okay. So we have the heart chakra here with a line, and the trigger statement is, I feel conflicted. And the true statement is, I am true to my highest self. Your focus needs to turn within to reflect on the stories that are not true for you. Love is the way through. So this is an excellent example. I love that this just confirms everything that I was feeling, because this is an important reminder to you that just because someone is in a position of influence or authority doesn't mean that their perspective or experience is going to be useful for you, because your path and their path are different. And it's also important to remember that the world is changing in a lot of ways right now, and the means of gaining success right now and in the past was through a lot of like distorted masculine energies, which were, you know, around being driven and achieving, you know, goals to the detriment of all else in life. You know, a narrow focus on achievement and success, and not focusing on anything else in life. There's a lot here, but essentially I feel like you're really being called to look at those influences that you are absorbing, and ask yourself, you know, am I trying to live a life like theirs? Do I think, you know, taking their advice would lead me to the life that I'm wanting to live, or will it lead me to the life that they live? I also think it's important to remember that part of you stepping into your own Emperor energy is learning how to have faith and confidence and trust in what your highest self is telling you. And so you can feel your highest self through your heart. Your heart is like your highest self's secretary or representative. And in this case, I feel like you're really being called to recognize the power that love has, and that the love for your own path has, the love that the universe has for you, and the reminder that humans know nothing. We are the same apes with different technology, and just because someone is very confident that their way is the right way doesn't mean that they're correct about that. There are so many different ways to be and to exist and to embody your soul's light. And I think in your case, you are stifling your soul's light because you are trying to hold yourself to the standards of other people's expectations, or holding yourself to the standards of other people's expectations you were once held to but are no longer held to anymore. But there's a part of you that feels guilty not honoring those expectations. And so I really think you're being called to ask your heart if those expectations serve you or, you know, hurt you. And if they hurt you, then I think you're being called to release those, and also be very gentle and patient with yourself as you deal with like guilt and shame around that, and as you deconstruct that, because it might take a little bit of time. But speaking of deconstruction, I definitely feel like for some of you, a lot of your negative thoughts may stem from an upbringing in organized religion that was based on fear and control, which I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's a lot of religions out there based on fear and control. So and the impact that has is just, it's a lot on the human psyche. And I definitely feel like some of your negative thoughts stem from, if it's not organized religion, it's definitely some sort of group that you were brought up in, that either your family was a part of, or that you were a part of, that was really destructive to your health and like to your well-being. And maybe at one time it served its purpose, but I think that there's definitely a detachment from it. Like, you know that it's not necessary for you to be holding on to certain beliefs or holding on to certain expectations that this group had. But it seems like anytime you do something that this group would have disapproved of or would have seen as wrong or bad, like for example, let's say you grew up in, you know, a really intense Christian household that thought things like this are evil, you know. You may not, yeah, like I get those in my comments all the time telling me. Anyway, you know, you might feel guilty looking at stuff like this and think like, oh, you know, am I doing something bad? Am I doing something wrong? But that's not true. Like, you know, it's important to remember that a lot of religion is man trying to explain God, but it's through the lens of man. So it's always going to be, it's never going to be truly perfect. And it's important to remember that like spiritual energy is very powerful, and you know, it can really, if you are not careful, cause you to believe things that have nothing to do with like love or spirit or the true purposes of like connecting with spirit and all that is, and instead get you focused on like mind games, or make you believe certain things about the human experience or certain ways in which the humans should or are supposed to like act and behave that are not rooted in reality whatsoever, not rooted in truth whatsoever, because truth is love. That, you know, the people that are spreading that information, you know, they benefit from it in some way, shape, or form. So I feel like a lot of your negative thoughts may be due to like guilt and shame from some sort of upbringing or some sort of environment where you were taught a lot of things about what it means to be a good human or a bad human, or what's right and what's wrong. And that tradition is something that you're still learning to break out from. So let's clarify this Hierophant card and see what Spirit wants to say about it. Beautiful. Okay. So we have the heart chakra again, and the theme is consolation. The trigger statement is I cannot go on, and the true statement is my heart is light. Please hold space for the feelings you have, honor them and be with them. Your burden will be lightened. So I feel like one issue that you may be having with this specifically is that you could have, like, for example, loved ones that have passed on already, or loved ones that may be passing on soon, that you love and have this beautiful connection to, but they, you know, uphold these beliefs that may have been harmful to you. And they're, you know, that is like a big part of their life. And there may be a part of you that is afraid that, especially if they've already passed on, that like they might be ashamed of you, or that they might be upset with you, or that, you know, they might be like looking down upon you and in shame or something like that. And that's just not true. I feel like part of your deconstruction process, and like I said, this doesn't have to be religious deconstruction, but that's like the biggest vibe that I'm getting. If it's not religious deconstruction for you, but just deconstruction of, you know, a way of living that does not serve you, I feel like it's important to remember, and a way of living that severed you from your heart space, that severed you from your emotions, that severed you from a large part of yourself. I feel like you're being called to remember that, one, these are big energies. These are big things that you are growing and healing from. Like, this is not all going to happen in a day, but one of the best things that you can do for your negative thoughts is learn how to tap into your heart space and learn how to see what your heart needs. Does it need nurturing? Does it need compassion? Do you need to give compassion towards yourself? Do you need to give compassion towards your brain? Like, there's really a need for you to hold space around the complexity of a lot of the feelings that you have, because there may be people that you love very much that are still in this like group, and you may be trying to reconcile, you know, the complexities of these situations. And, you know, humans, we really like to, a lot of humans like to look at things as like very black and white. It's either this or it's that. And the reality is that life is incredibly complex, and so many truths can coexist at once. And I think in your case, it's important to remember that just because this environment or these groups of people or whatever you were taught couldn't see your light and thought that there was something wrong with you because you didn't fit in, because you didn't align with their standards, doesn't mean that there's something truly wrong with you. It just means that that environment is not going to be supportive to the beautiful light that you are. An example of this that I like to use is, I am diagnosed with ADHD, and I hate the term ADHD because I don't think it's actually a disorder. I think that people with what is called ADHD just have a different brain type, and because the vast majority of the world functions in a way that is not supportive or helpful for people with ADHD or with an ADHD-esque brain, people with it are viewed as having a disorder because they appear disorderly compared to the standard of what the expectations are for a normal person and a normal brain. Does that make sense? So like, I'm not saying like ADHD isn't real or something, but what I'm saying is that I don't think it's the right term for people with ADHD brains. Like, I don't think it's right to call it a disorder. And I think that it's literally just a different way of being that appears disorderly from the outside world, from people that do acclimate to our society easier and view it as being disordered because it's different and it doesn't fit with the mold that is considered normal. And so I say that example, not trying to like get anyone fired up. I just don't think I have a disorder. I think I just have a different brain, and it appears disorderly to people that are more neurotypical, which I don't even think neurotypical even exists. I think they're just people better at acclimating to the standard of what society is doing, and others that are not as good at it. But anyway, the reason I was using that example is because I feel like in your case, you know, if you put yourself like the group that you were in could have been viewing something that you were doing as like wrong or disorderly, right? But that's not the truth. There's not something wrong with you. There isn't something disorderly about you. It's just that that environment was not conducive and supportive to the person that you are meant to be. And so, you know, if a plant's in the wrong soil, it's not really going to grow very well. And I think it's important to remember that it's not easy to break apart from groups like this, especially when there is such deep emotion like attached and you have family in it and things like that. And so I think it's important to remember that it seems like for a lot of you, you've already done the really hard work, which is to separate yourself in the first place. And it may be very hard to deal with like the ramifications of not just going along with what other people want you to go along with. But what I feel like you need to know is that it's okay to have all the emotions that you're having. And it may be really uncomfortable to deal with all these emotions, especially if your heart space has been particularly shut down. But I think part of your negative thoughts might be stemming from your brain kind of trying to wrap around, like, understand why you're experiencing all this intense emotion. And I feel really called to say that you don't need to understand it. You just need to flow with it and observe. In fact, trying to analyze it and understand it, I think, is going to lead you to more confusion and chaos and more uncertainty and actually bring you further from yourself. I think all your brain needs to know about this, about a lot of the emotions that you're experiencing, is that they're tied to, one, past emotion that's been suppressed and that is now being released, and two, you are getting back in alignment with yourself. And part of that movement requires like you to flow through emotions and flow through stagnant energies that have been stuck within you. But I think it's important to remember as well that like let's say, for example, I'll use myself as an example again, because this is kind of like contentious stuff. You know, I was brought up in like Christian household, right? And even though it wasn't like intensely Christian, it was still enough to do a number on me, right? So I'm not really into dogma or like organized religion, but like I'm down with Jesus. And I find that like there are so many different ways in which we can like reach spiritual light. Like I see religions as like rivers that flow into the same ocean, and that exploring them and learning about them, you know, can be really powerful and a beautiful opportunity to get closer to ourselves, to ancestors, to the world around us. But that doesn't mean you have to take on everything it teaches as truth. So like for me, sometimes I will just like use the Bible to divinate. Now, sometimes it does not work out. Sometimes there's some stuff where I'm just like, bro, what? And I gotta keep moving forward. But other times, sometimes there's like some useful stuff in there. So I feel like you don't feel like if there are parts of you that are still attached to this way of being, don't feel like you have to sever entirely. You can still hold on to the parts that had meaning to you and that served you. It's just that in this case, you don't have to also do the things that tore you down, made you feel bad about yourself, and validated the truth of who you are, like that stuff. But if there are things that still bring you comfort, you are still totally allowed to like embrace those. Like Jesus, for example, you know, Jesus does not care if you're a Christian or not. Jesus loves everyone, like literally everyone. He was a Jewish mystic. He literally would be a hypocrite if he was like, nah, you can only be Christian in order to get, like, that doesn't make sense. Like, and Jesus is all about, like, if I could describe Jesus's core energy in 2 words, no, 3. Well, technically 4, because compassion, forgiveness, unconditional love. That counts as that's a 2-for-1. But and those and I'm not saying you need to forgive anyone in your life, but I do think you need to forgive yourself for the ways in which that you have coped with like the challenges in your life, and recognize that, and also forgive yourself for ways in which you harmed yourself out of a belief that there was something inherently wrong with you, because that's not the truth. It's just the ways in which you coped because of a belief that there was something wrong with you. So speaking of the devil, I definitely think that this and negative thoughts surrounding this have a lot to do with habits and behaviors and patterns that you have in order to avoid the uncomfortable feelings, in order to avoid the discomfort of like the pain of the past, the pain that you may be holding on to. But also, I think as well, there is a part of you that seems to be, let me hold on to that. Let's get a clarifier for this. So Spirit, can you clarify the devil card for me, please? What is this devil card about? Beautiful. Okay. So we have cleansing, this is the sacral chakra, and the trigger statement is, I will never change. And the true statement is, in each moment, I am a new me. You are being supported as you release habits and limiting patterns that are not serving your highest good. So I feel like it's really important to remember, like, this is definitely a lot about you trying to grow and change as a person and being aware of like the habits that don't serve you and the fact that they're harder than maybe you anticipated being able, like, they're harder to break than you anticipated. And there may be a part of you that's feeling like you're chained to the past, or you're chained to past versions of yourself. And I think that a lot of your negative thoughts could be reinforcing that idea, not necessarily seeing how far you've already come or how much you've already grown. I feel like it's really important to remember that when you do like slip up, like for example, like if you, let's say there's like a bad habit that you have, like let's say for example, you're trying to reduce your screen time. So, you know, you do really great for like 3 days, and then on the 4th day, you know, something happens and you're just like glued to your phone the whole day. Well, are you going to beat yourself up about it and be like, look, now you've just ruined the whole week. You messed it up. Like, look at how much screen time you have. You're a flop. You're a failure. No, you're not going to say that to yourself. Recognize, first of all, be aware of how you're feeling, because that conscious awareness of, oh, I doom scrolled for 9 hours and I feel like crap now. That conscious awareness of like, okay, I'm aware that doing this thing, I can't change the fact that I already did the thing, but I know that doing this thing causes me to feel this way. Pay attention to the feeling in your body. Pay attention to the feelings that you're having, and make that note so that the next time you feel tempted to do that, ask yourself, do I want to feel that way again? Or do I think this will lead me somewhere? And if you make the choice to doom scroll again, the best thing that you can do is, once again, register how you're feeling about it, how it feels after you've done it and you're aware, and forgive yourself. Have compassion for yourself and say, maybe my brain was just too much for me to deal with today. Maybe I need to reach out to someone, or maybe I need to just sit with myself and like sit with my thoughts, whatever you need to do. But I feel like you demonize yourself for being flawed and for being human, and that's just not fair to you. And it's also just creating this toxic expectation for you to be perfect, and that's not true. Like, that's not real. Like, literally detoxification, I think that you just have, and I think it kind of loops into this star energy where like the idealized version of you is not inhibited by any of your actions or behaviors that you're having trouble changing. And that's the thing, is like, that's part of the reason why it's unrealistic for you to just visualize that version of yourself without considering who you are now, because that version of yourself, like, you might be idealizing, like, let's say there's a version of you. Like, let's say you are addicted to sweet tea, which if you're not from the Midwest, you might not know what that is, but I will say it's something that I've dealt with. So let's just say, for example, you're addicted to sweet tea, and you visualize a version of yourself that never drinks sweet tea and is not afflicted by it. That's not necessarily realistic, because at one point there was a part of you that loved sweet tea, that was addicted to sweet tea even. So to project a vision of you where like that part of you doesn't exist, you're already setting yourself up for failure, because even if you decide to never touch sweet tea again, you know that the way sweet tea makes you feel, and that it has a powerful, it's a very powerful thing for you. It's something that you're addicted to, right? Of course, this is just an example and a silly one, but that awareness of like, okay, there is not going to be a version of me that just magically isn't drawn to it anymore. This is going to take work for me. This is going to be something where I have to be honest with myself about my sweet tea addiction in the first place, and be honest about how it makes me feel. And then we go from there. I feel like part of reconciling the future version of yourself you have in your mind is recognizing that the future version of yourself is not going to be a different person. It's going to be you, just a more evolved version of it. And if your idea of the person you want to be is not rooted in who you are now at all, that's probably a sign that you're just wishing you were someone else other than yourself, and that's probably not very helpful, and that's also not being very loving towards yourself. That's literally requiring yourself to like contort and be something that you're not, just to get, you know. I lost my train of thought. So I think we've gotten all we need to there. And so with the Tower card being here, I definitely think that like negative thoughts stemming from this Tower card, I think are natural, normal, and understandable. This Tower card could be things from your past, but it could also just be fears of like having a Tower moment in the future. You know, a Tower moment is essentially, you know, when the divine gives you a wake-up call. And in this case, I think that there is a part of you that is very afraid of experiencing another Tower moment. And you may feel like you're headed towards one because things aren't shifting, things aren't changing. But I think that that is a lot of like, it may be you catastrophizing things. But let me clarify this Tower card and just see, Spirit, what are the negative? Okay. So we have Citronella here with a theme of expel. And the trigger statement is, I am being invaded. And the true statement is, I am pure. As you align with the frequency of peace, the invasions from outside yourself and distance within are neutralized. So this actually makes so much sense. And I think that one thing that you need to recognize is how malleable you are to the outside world. And, you know, the fact that we have 3 chakras here that need your attention: your sacral, your solar plexus, and your heart. And those are the 3 central chakras. So if you want to focus on chakras to work on healing, it's those 3. But I think more than anything, your solar plexus needs it the most. It's the yellow one, kind of like right, it's underneath the heart, but above the sacral. It's kind of like the higher part of your stomach. And in this case, I feel like you are worried that the rug is going to be ripped out from underneath you, or I feel like you're just worried if you've had like a past wake-up call that was particularly upsetting or traumatic for you. I feel like you're worried that that's going to happen again. But you may also be worried of just being attacked from the outside world. And I feel like here's another thing that you need to know is that like there will be people that will attack you for no reason other than you are just like existing and you trigger something within them that they don't like. But that's not your fault, but they think it's your fault because your presence is what triggered it. You may take on the projections that other people have towards you, which is just not only not fair to you, but also it deludes you into thinking that there's something wrong with you, when in reality, there's just something wrong with the person that was upset in the first place. But I also think with the Tower card being here, you know, I really think you need to be cautious about what sorts of like content you're consuming, and also like how much time and energy you give to the outside world, because we all know that like the news and stuff like that, you know, they're very focused and intent on, you know, broadcasting the doom and gloom, everything terrible that's happening, and that's not going anywhere. So I feel like you're really being called to recognize, you know, the negativity and the just like a lot of the negativity that comes in from the outside world, and how that is not your truth. But you may take on a lot of those energies because you're a caring person and you care about other people, and it's hard to see other people suffering and like not be able to do anything about it. And I think it's important to remember that like you're not responsible for having the entire world on your shoulders, and you don't need to let people make you think that that is the case. I think it's important to remember like things like social media and stuff like that drain our energy more than we realize. And I think more than anything, whenever you're cultivating this good energy within, I feel like you lose it sometimes because you get so focused on what's going on on the outside world. And I really think the most powerful and positive thing you can do for your mind is get it to be disciplined enough to recognize when something is going to serve you and when something isn't. Because your mind is essentially the entry point for negativity to come in and start invading, you know, your mental and emotional physical body, like your space, your energy. So the more you can focus on things that are grounding, things that feel nurturing, things that make you feel like the truest, purest version of yourself, I think the better. But also I think your goal right now should just be to reach a state of peace in the present moment, because that state of peace is what's going to make room for you to actually be able to take positive action towards the things that you actually want to achieve, and be less focused on what isn't serving you. But with that being said, I hope that helps. We're gonna go ahead now and pull some affirmations, and I'm just gonna pull one for each row and just see what affirmations are gonna serve you. Also, let me know like if this is resonating and if this is helping. Anyway. Okay, so we've got 2 so far. Oh no, 3. My energy is spent loving myself and sending love to others. Yeah, focusing on the light. We have, I give myself permission to have fun and be playful, which you absolutely need to. And that could be one thing that really helps you get out of your head is like, I've seen crocheting is a big thing. I'll have to let you know. I have this little thing that I need to crochet. It's been sitting there for over a year. I don't know if anyone crochets or does anything fun and playful, maybe comment down below what it is to give other people some inspiration. But we have my heart is happy, my heart is full. And that should be, these 3 should be your goals. Like if there's anything to focus on your heart being happy and full. Give yourself permission to have fun and be playful. And spend your energy loving yourself and sending love to others. And loving yourself isn't always just like standing in the mirror and being like, I love myself. It's like, it's actual actions that show your self-love. It's doing things that, you know, nurture and care for yourself and support yourself. But anyway, Spirit, what affirmations does pile 1 need to hear? Each breath is a fresh start. Yeah, I really think breath work could be really powerful for you because we had the respiratory card anyway, but I'm going to pull a couple more since those 3 came out on their own. Okay, well, we got a bunch more. So, my thoughts, words, and actions contribute to the greater good and happiness for all, which actually, I think this could be a powerful way for you to think about positivity and positive energy. If you think about like the fact that you're absorbing a lot of the negativity from others, recognize that your positivity is something that other people can absorb, and the more you focus on protecting that and cultivating that energy, the less you are going to be afflicted by the outside world's negativity because you're going to recognize it for what it is. And also you can create a positive impact by showing people that they don't have to live life in this state of fight or flight survival. We also have I am enough, which obviously fight or flight survival, like that is a way of living that many people are dealing with. But if you have the resources and the means to not be living in that, but you are like in that energy of survival mode in the first place, like you don't need to be in survival mode, but cognitively you're in survival mode, like that's kind of what I'm talking about. Obviously survival mode has its purpose, and there are many periods of time like where it's kind of necessary to be in that in order to survive. But like, I feel like in your case, you're out of that and it's kind of ready for you to, your brain is really ready for that to be healed so that it can serve your heart rather than serve fear and the expectations of the outside world. We also have my thoughts create my actions create my reality. And that's the thing, like the more empowering your thoughts are, the more you will be able to recognize like how powerful the negative thoughts are that hold you back. And finally, we have I cultivate community and connectedness. So yeah, maybe a way of healing for you moving forward is seeking out communities of like-minded people who have similar values or people that are healing from similar things as you. That could be a really powerful way. Like for example, if you're deconstructing from religion, maybe someone who's deconstructing from the same religion, a community around there. Or if you are, you know, healing from, you know, an abusive relationship or an abusive past, you know, finding people that are doing the same. I really think finding community with people that have similar wounds or have similar stories to you, I think that could be a really beneficial way for you to not only see how far you've come and like how much you've grown, how much you've healed, but also to recognize that you're not alone in this, and that, you know, there are people that can and do understand what you're going through and that, you know, want you to thrive and succeed just as much as you want others to, you know? So finishing off, we're gonna go ahead and get some guidance for you. So this is gonna be from your guardian angel. So we have the Ace of Action. This cherub is heralding a time of wonderful new opportunities related to your creativity, your career, or pursuing your dreams. This is a card of action. If you've been procrastinating, it's time to get really busy. It's also a great time to start a new business. Have confidence in your abilities. Yes. So there's lots of new opportunities coming your way to be fun and playful, to have, you know, newer energy, positive energy, like dynamic energy coming your way. And we have wake up call, listen and take note with number 11. So 1111 could definitely be a sign of like growth. It could also be a sign of doing things differently. But I literally think the fact that we have this Ace of Wands and this wake up call, I feel like the universe is trying to do everything in its power to get you out of like a negative state and like this cycle of negative thoughts. And I feel like you've been having opportunities to do that where you might get offers or have like ideas of trying something new and you maybe brush them away. I feel like you're really being called. Whatever intuitively came to mind when you thought about, like when I was reading that Ace of Wands and this wake up call, like whether that's taking a class, whether that's reaching out to someone, whatever that may be for you, I feel like you're really being encouraged to do that. But also know that the spirit will never stop trying to get you on the path that is most aligned with you. It'll never stop trying to get you back on the path of love and away from the path of fear. So just know, like, there's no messing things up. There's no ruining things. Like, there is just your life and where you are at, and the universe is constantly conspiring in your highest good. But I do feel like one thing that you're being called to look at is the parts of yourself that you're not meeting and the parts of yourself that need fed. Like, for example, the creative parts of yourself or the sensual parts of yourself, whatever it may be. What parts of yourself are you not feeding? Because I think that's the first place to start. But I also think there could be a wake-up call in terms of like someone getting an opportunity that could have been yours because you weren't open to it, or because you were afraid of it, or because like you didn't want it. And that may not necessarily be true, but I feel like what Spirit is saying is that even if this happens, that doesn't mean that you've missed out on an opportunity. It literally just means like you didn't get that one. But that doesn't mean that there won't be more opportunities for you in the future. But if that happens, it's meant to kind of get you into gear in a way that wakes you up to like, okay, I really need to be working towards my dreams and working towards what's actually meaningful towards me, not just sitting in my own like fear and ruminating in it. So just be aware of that. Like, even if this tower moment would happen, you're still going back to the star. Like, there's still hope and healing. So like, you're fine. We also have clear waters, clear vision, confirmation, right timing, opportunity. Okay, yeah, so definitely there are opportunities coming your way, and you're really being asked to let your heart feel into what feels right there. But I guess there's confirmation of what I just said. But also trust your own timing. Trust in what is right for you, and don't compare your path to someone else's and feel like you should be further along. You're exactly where you need to be. We also have yes, 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 yes. Whatever you're asking or wondering about, the answer is a strong yes. The timing is right and you're ready to move forward. So yeah, there's a lot here about you moving forward and letting go. It's time to get moving. Stop thinking. And finally, we have surrendered silence. In quiet meditation or contemplation, let go and enter the stillness within. Silence can heal and replenish you. And I think what's really important to note here is that, like, I think what you could be entering is this cycle of dynamic action and calm stillness within, and like teetering between those two. And it's like the dynamic action that gets a lot of the mental energy out, so that then you can go within and have that calmness, that peace, that silence, and then that allows more divine inspiration to come in that you can actually listen to, and then you can take dynamic action from a place of clarity rather than a place of fear. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because that is where I'm going to leave this reading, pile 1. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for letting the ads play in the background, because that's one of the simplest and easiest ways to support me and show appreciation for what I do. If you'd like to support me in other ways, you can like this video, comment down below, let me know how it resonates, and you can subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can also check out my candles. Be sure to use code ASO10 for 10% off, and you can also check out my merch, which will be linked down below. You can check out my social media, or any other videos, especially ones with extendeds. But that's all I have for you guys. Please let me know if this helped. I really hope it did. You know, if this is something that you want more of, like, definitely let me know. But that's where I'm gonna leave things. So thank you guys so much for watching and for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye. Hi there, pile 2. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose Big Chungus, the Pyrite, and the Gold Foil Tarot, then this is going to be a reading on me fighting your negative thoughts. So with that being said, while I'm shuffling, I just really want you to focus on the deck and just intend that the thoughts, the energies necessary that you need to be aware of or see the truth of be brought forward to you at this time. I love shuffling this deck so much. And also, as I'm reading, if what I'm talking about doesn't sound like your brain, doesn't sound like what's going on in your brain, then this is not the reading for you, and I would try a different one. But feel free to check out more than one reading, and if you find that you're drawn to more than one, could be that one reading couldn't handle all of the energies, and you are multidimensional brain. So it's so satisfying. Okay, Spirit, what negative thoughts does pile 2 need to see the truth of? What negative thoughts does pile 2 need to see the truth of? Okay, well, we have the Queen of Cups to start. We have the Devil upright. We have the Queen of Cups. I don't know why I'm making that fart noise, but I like it. Feel free to make a fart noise with me if you would like to. Their beautiful fart noise symphony. Anyway, what other negative thoughts does pile 2 need to be aware of? We have the Temperance card here. We have the 7 of Cups. Finally, we have the Ace of Swords. This is so interesting because I allowed reversals to come in, and the first 2 piles there have been absolutely 0 reversals, which I just think is really interesting. But anyway, now what I'm going to do is use this deck to clarify these negative thoughts, energies, so that we can see the truth behind them. And what's interesting is that in pile 1's reading, it was like it was flowing to me before I even started, but not getting much right now. And I think that's because these are going to work in tandem with the oracles. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Okay, I'm just mumbling unnecessarily. Anyway, Spirit, can you clarify the Devil card? What is the truth behind these negative thoughts? What's the loving truth behind the Devil card? Okay, so we have the solar plexus chakra with processing, and the trigger statement is, I am so worried, and the true statement is, I have the solution. Slowing down and listening to your inner voice will provide you with direction and purpose. Okay, so I feel like the first thing coming in with this Devil card here is there's a lot of like frustration, stress, anger towards yourself around maladaptive coping mechanisms, which are essentially just coping mechanisms that are not beneficial for you now, that don't really serve you. And also, I feel like there's a part of you that might have like an addiction to fear, or if not an addiction, then discomfort around being at peace. And maybe you don't realize that. Maybe you're like, no, I literally, all I want is peace. But it seems like your actions are not showing that. What I really feel here is that there's some sort of like frenzy that happens in your brain, or some sort of, I don't know if you'd call it a frenzy, or maybe like an automatic response that whenever you get into an uncomfortable mindset, whether that be like a very fearful mindset, a very destructive mindset, any mindset that keeps you fearful and not in your power, I feel like you automatically, it's like this kind of instinctual drive to go to these coping mechanisms. So like, for example, a common one could be like alcohol. Like, you know, the second you start having like, you're really uncomfortable and you don't want to deal with uncomfortable emotions, you might turn to alcohol, and then that causes you to like make decisions that you wouldn't normally make, and then you wake up and then you're like, oh, I can't believe I did that, and then you're even mad at and it's a cycle, right? And it doesn't stop. And I feel like what you're really being called to do when that initial desire or instinct or discomfort that causes you to reach for those maladaptive coping mechanisms, I feel like you're being called to sit in that discomfort before you reach for the coping mechanism, because that is where you are going to have awareness of what is actually needing your attention. Because it seems like part of your negative thoughts have to do with the fact that there is a need not being met, and you're aware of the fact that this need isn't being met, but because this need can't be met through your typical actions and everyday behaviors, it feels like you are stuck in this process where like this need can't be met, and like you might be behaving in very self-destructive ways. But I feel like what you're not seeing is that a lot of this self-destructive like energy is more conditioning and like what you're used to, and how you have been taught to, or how you've taught yourself to cope with like the stresses of life, the fears of life, the worries of life. And I feel like what you're really being called to do is recognize that you don't have to do things that way, that there are other ways, and that it's okay to be uncomfortable, and it's okay to sit in that discomfort, and it's okay to not know what to do. It's okay to break down. It's okay to be frustrated. And I think one of the things that you have to come to terms with is the anger and frustration that comes with not relying on your typical coping mechanisms, and like that discomfort and how frustrating that is, because moving through that, that's when you start to see what you're actually yearning for and what you're actually needing. Now, I'm simplifying this heavily. Obviously, it is not like, especially when it comes to like addictions and things like that. Like if you have an addiction to like a substance or something like that, I would really, really encourage you to like seek help, because obviously, and especially like, for example, if that substance is alcohol, I mean, like obviously you can't just like, it can be really dangerous to just like quit or just stop. So, I mean, I'm not a professional. I don't know anything. All I do know is that there are ways in which you are behaving that are not, that one, do not align with like the truth of who you are, and two, like are behaviors that you don't like about yourself, that you already want to change anyway, and that you feel very defeated around, because it seems like every opportunity for change, it seems like you make the same decision. And rather than beating yourself up, I feel like you're really being called to look at, you know, what are you running from? What are you just truly seeking? What are you truly needing that you're not meeting? And you may not realize what that is until the impulse to go after whatever the coping mechanism is. But I feel like what you're being called to tell yourself is that there are solutions that you're not seeing. And what I would call you to do is even to like if prayer is something that you're comfortable with, I would even like pray and be like, please, like, show me a solution, show me what I should do. Ask for guidance or ask for help, like in any way you can. Like if you can't find the solutions on your own, like be open to finding those solutions elsewhere. I feel like for some of you, like alcohol is something that's coming up a lot. And I won't sit here and pretend like I know or understand how challenging or difficult it is to deal with like an issue like that. But what I will say is that if you've thought about ever doing something like AA, if that applies to you, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, or something anonymous if it's not alcohol or anything like that, I feel like you're really being encouraged to seek out that support, because there's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to getting help. That you should be very like proud of yourself, and if like there are ways in which you're going to take yourself outside of your comfort zone to grow and be a better person. But I feel like for some of you, you're overestimating how destructive, or like overestimating how badly entrenched you are in these coping mechanisms. So for some of you, these issues may not be that intense, but you might beat yourself up a lot when you do fall back into these old habits. And I feel like in that case, you're really being called to look at how those habits don't serve you, and come up with solutions in the future, that when you do feel that impulse to rely on that coping mechanism, you try out the new solutions, the new implementations. And this is a process. It's not all going to happen at once, but like this is a lot of this negativity around, you know, the parts of yourself that you want to change, the parts of yourself that you feel chained to, that you feel like are holding you back. I feel like what you're being shown right now and what you're meant to see is that these habits, these coping mechanisms are having a direct effect on your self-esteem and on your ability to like feel good about who you are as a human being. And not only do you deserve to feel good about who you are, but you deserve to be able to see that these things that you're attached to, or that these things that are holding you back, do not truly have power over you. And that it may take work, and it may take time, and it may take change, and it may take support and assistance and help, but these issues can not only be a thing of the past, but they can be a catalyst for you finding much better, healthier coping mechanisms that actually support the person you're becoming. So let's look at the Queen of Cups now and see what this is all about. So Spirit, can you clarify the Queen of Cups for me, please? We have honoring self, with the trigger statement being, this is the way it has always been done, and the true statement is, I create my way. You are ready to fulfill your desires by thinking outside the box. The path less traveled may be more fulfilling. So this makes a lot of sense, considering we've already been, you know, talking about self-esteem and how your actions may contribute to lower self-esteem. But I also think one thing that you are not recognizing is like your value and your worth. I see this Queen of Cups here as you, and I see that as your, like, especially like your emotional body. I feel like you have a hard time either sitting in your emotions or honoring your emotions, and that can be a hard thing, because if we don't feel our emotions, it's hard to feel or hear like what our heart is trying to tell us. And I think in your case, you're definitely very unsatisfied with where like things in life are right now. But I feel like you're honoring everything outside of yourself and not what your inner self is telling you about why you feel stuck, or why you feel held back, or why you feel trapped, or why things don't feel right. I feel like there is a part of you that needs to be aware of the fact that just because things have been done a certain way doesn't mean they need to be done a certain way. I'm getting a really silly example, but there's this like Cinderella sequel where she's like learning to get acclimated to like the castle, and the lady that's like, I think the lady's name is actually like Prudence or something. And the lady that's like teaching her everything, you know, she's such a stickler, and she just says like, it simply isn't done. Like, no, you can't do things this way. You can't do, like, you know, she's just a vibe killer, right? And Cinderella comes in and is like, you know what? No, I don't think we're going to do prunes for this banquet. I think we're going to do chocolate pudding. And like, you know, her mentor is like losing her mind. But, you know, when the big ball comes around, everybody's hype over the chocolate pudding. So like Cinderella was right. And in that case, I think that part of your negative thoughts have to do with like, I think that you could have an inner Prudence. I'm pretty sure that's what the character's name was, that tells you that you have to do things a certain way, or that you can't do things a different way. And part of that fear too could even literally come from seeing like comment sections and things like that, where, you know, someone makes a tiny mistake or someone does something and then people are like eviscerating them, you know, because they used honey in their recipe instead of molasses. Like, I don't know, like the most minor things that people lose their minds over because they haven't touched grass, right? And I think in your case, there's a part of you that is like very rigid and thinking that you have to do things in certain ways, and it's just not true. And I feel like what you're really needing is the trust and confidence in yourself to say, this isn't serving me, let me do this a different way. And heaven forbid you do things in a different way that actually makes life a little bit more fun and enjoyable. I really think that that is part of the problem, is that I feel like you are almost perpetuating your own suffering because you believe that you're supposed to do things that way, and that if you made things a little bit easier for yourself, if you did things make a little bit joyful, if you did make things a little bit more fun and joyful for yourself, that somehow you would be doing something wrong, or that somehow you are a bad human because you're not suffering. That's not true. And part of honoring yourself is giving yourself the experience of joy, giving yourself that experience of playfulness, of fun, of happiness. And I also think that you are very intuitive and you don't honor your intuition whatsoever. I think your intuition is trying to give you a lot of guidance of where you're meant to go, what's going to work for you, and you might be listening to it in the sense of like you're hearing it, but you're not applying it. Like, it's almost like you're looking for anything else in the outside world to contradict what your intuition is telling you, so then you can say, oh yeah, I knew I was wrong, I'm gonna follow this. And then you get confused and wonder why following the thing outside of you didn't work for you, and then you think that there's something wrong with you, but there's nothing wrong with you. What's wrong with you is that you don't trust yourself, you don't trust what your inner self is telling you, and you feel more comfortable taking the guidance of people that either don't know you whatsoever or don't, you know, or just don't have the same path as you, and you're taking that on as your truth and then wondering why you feel like crap and why you still feel lost. It's because it's not you. So I really feel like you are needing to take a step back and recognize that nobody is going to lead the way for you. No one is forging the path for you but yourself. And the more you trust that, the easier it will be for you to like actually navigate. It's literally like, it's like you have this map that only you can read and only you can decipher. And you're going to a specific location that only you are going to. But because you're so afraid of trusting that map and trusting what it shows you, you would literally rather go and find other people's maps to different places that have different directions, and then wondering why you feel lost. Like, trust your own map, trust your own compass. That's all you really need. Let's clarify temperance now. What's temperance about, Spirit? Beautiful. We have the heart chakra with align. The trigger statement is, I feel conflicted. And the true statement is, I am true to my highest self. Your focus needs to turn within to reflect on stories that are not true for you. Love is the way through. And I love that this came out with temperance, because I feel like this is just a really important reminder of the fact that like evolution and growth and healing, those are things that take time. And also, you don't just wake up one day and are magically a different person. The process of transformation is not as fast as we would like it to be. And I think that's a good thing, because we already have enough instant gratification in this world. We don't need more. But with that being said, I feel like with this temperance card here, you massively underestimate how far you've already come, because you're looking at what's yet to come, what you haven't done, and not what you've already achieved, what you've already succeeded at, what you've already grown from. And I feel like what's important to remember is that this is a process that you have to be patient with. And you also have to be patient with yourself, because there are going to be times where it seems like the sky's the limit, and then all of a sudden you have an experience that's really upsetting, or, you know, something happens and it really crushes like your emotional body, or it really just upsets you, and then you have to take a step back and deal with that. Even though you really wanted to focus on these other things, now you have to focus on caring for yourself, and that can be a frustrating thing. But there's so much growth that comes with caring for yourself, especially in hard times, that, you know, that is wisdom and knowledge and healing that is, one, going to be useful for the rest of your life, and two, you're still making progress. It's just in a different way than how you intended it to be. I also think, though, that you're really being called to explore different philosophies and different ways of life that interest you. It doesn't mean you have to like adopt them as your own, but I feel like you're being encouraged to look at different ways of living and look at different things culturally, like look at different philosophies, belief systems, and see from those like resonates with you. And, you know, obviously only in a respectful way, but like, how can you integrate some of that into your own life? I also think that one thing you need to remember as well is that we're not always in touch with our highest self, and it takes alignment and a willingness to get in touch with it that we are more in touch with our highest self. Does that make sense? It's very, very easy to kind of cut ourselves off from our heart space, from our higher wisdom, when we're deeply entrenched in fear or in, you know, an emotion or whatever it may be. And so I feel like one of the things that you need to remember is that you don't have to have all the answers for everything. All you really need is a general sense of peace and trust in where you're headed, and confidence in yourself to be able to carry yourself there. I definitely think that you're really being called to look at what past stories you're telling yourself that don't serve you anymore, that don't like bring you healing anymore. Like, look at those, and, or not, let me rephrase that. The past stories that you tell yourself that prevent you from healing, not, that's what I meant to say. I don't even know what I said, but I know whatever I said before the sentence that I just said wasn't right. And then what I said after that was right. At least it felt right. Could be wrong if this isn't your reading, I don't know. But anyway, I definitely think that you're being encouraged to be patient with yourself as you grow. And also to remember that it takes effort and intention to be in touch with our highest self. You know, if we are in this cycle of like autopilot and just doing the things that, you know, give us instant gratification, or that you know, serve a lower version of ourselves, we're not going to immediately know what our highest self wants to do because we're not in touch with it. We have to take a step back. We have to be willing to silence the mind, go within, be still, make space to receive, right? And I think that what you need to know is that any solution that comes from a place of fear, that comes from a place of shame, that comes from a place of guilt, that comes from a place of obligation, those are not truths. The truth is love. And if it's not loving, it's not the truth. And I think one of the biggest things that will be useful for you is helping you recognize that, like, you're not a villain for choosing yourself. You're not a villain for setting a boundary. You're also not a villain for making mistakes and having issues, you know? Like, you know, addictions, for example. People with addictions are often demonized, and, you know, of course, people that are really deeply rooted in addiction can do some really horrible, horrible things. But I don't want to get myself into a situation. All I'm saying is that you deserve compassion no matter what, and that you deserve to forgive yourself. But also it's important to remember that, like, you're not the villain that you may make yourself out to be just because you're flawed and have problems. Like, we're all flawed and have problems. Some people's are just more clear than others. And, you know, I think sometimes it's the people with the most delicate glass houses that are throwing stones at everyone else, and everyone else is too busy catching those stones that they don't recognize how flimsy the glass house is that the person's throwing them from is. Point being, the people flinging shit at you have shit that they need to deal with that they're not. They're directing their inward energy outward at you, and they can suck your ass, and they can also suck my ass, because I'm sure some of them will be in my comment section. Anyway, let's look at the Seven of Cups. Spirit, can you clarify the Seven of Cups for pile 2? Beautiful. Okay, we have gratitude, and the trigger statement is I'm overwhelmed, and the true statement is I am moving. The time for planning is complete. Take action, no matter how small. Begin today. So I feel like there's a part of you that, you know, might just, like, maybe you have a lot of ideas, or maybe you're unsure of what you want to do next. Take a step back and look at how beautiful of an opportunity it is to have so many opportunities, to have so many potentials. I feel like part of you might be generating a lot of negative energy towards yourself because you don't know what's next, and you might be afraid that because you don't know what's next, that, like, everything is going to implode or everything is going to, like, go to shit. But the only way you're really going to know what is actually what actually fulfills you and is going to continue to fulfill you is to explore things and get moving and try new things. Like, I feel like you're really just being encouraged to try things and to be patient with yourself, and to not require yourself to have answers instantaneously. Like, instantaneous answers aren't always what is going to be best for us. And I think there's a lot of value in where you're at right now of just, like, exploration. And it's understandable that you might be overwhelmed by the amount of options or the amount of, like, different paths you could take or the ways in which your life can unfold. But, like, that's a beautiful gift in of itself. And, like, I think what's really important to remember is that, you know, even if you believe in reincarnation, like, this is your one life as you right now. You know, what do you want to do? What do you want to experience? Like, there's so much in our world that is just robbing us of our humanity and of our ability to, like, live and experience. And it's so fucked up and disgusting. And the best way to rebel against it is to live anyway, and to live and have experiences and do what feels right for you. Like, let go of the idea that there is this streamlined path that every person is meant to take, and that streamlined path will bring them satisfaction and fulfillment. If that streamlined path brought every person satisfaction and fulfillment, then the phrase midlife crisis wouldn't exist. Anyway, Spirit, can we clarify the Ace of Swords? What's this Ace of Swords about? Beautiful. We have the theme of unity, the trigger statement being I am unstable, and the true statement being I am aware. You are strengthening the connection between your energetic and physical bodies to help you manifest your goals. And so I think that this is the thing that's real and true here, is that a lot of your negative thoughts aren't necessarily like thoughts. They may be energies and feelings, but even then, I feel like a lot of the negative thoughts that you may have, you don't even necessarily process them. You might just be like aware of the discomfort that they cause you. But here's the reality. You have the capabilities with this Ace of Swords of shifting into truth very quickly. You might be out of alignment for a long time, but the ability to shift back into what is true for you is so simple. And you might be overcomplicating it, but really it is about becoming aware and present and at peace with all parts of yourself, with all experiences in that moment, and being aware of it. And recognizing that your heart space connects you to all that is, and you are one with all that is, and that you are protected and supported and nourished and loved, and that your own awareness of yourself helps you strengthen your energetic body and your physical body together so that you can do some badass shit on this planet and be proud of it, rather than feel like you need to do more badass shit in order to be worthy or be valid or whatever it may be. But there's a real emphasis on your heart space here. And I think that the nourishment that you've been looking for in these maladaptive coping mechanisms or these things outside of you has really been, your heart has been seeking nourishment. So whatever nourishes your heart, whether it's affirmations, whether it's something spiritual, whether it's something like indulgent, or whatever makes your heart happy, I feel like that's what you're being called to look at. And also recognize that like your heart needs more attention from you, and that more than anything, your brain needs to submit to your heart so that you guys can get on the same page and you won't be running in circles anymore. You can actually start walking the path. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead now and pull you some affirmations to clarify these cards. So Spirit, what affirmations does pile 3 need to hear at this time? I am aligned with the energy of abundance. And that's the thing about abundance, is we think of abundance as like money, but abundance is so much more than that. Abundance is energy, and it's so much more than just money. Like it's everything around us. You know, before currency was really like the main way of commerce being a thing, the symbol for abundance used to be like cattle and like a cow. And, you know, cows obviously are a source of nourishment in more ways than one. They're also just like such incredible beings. And I feel like you're really being called to redefine your definition of abundance, because if your definition of abundance is literally just currency, you are missing out on so much. Because abundance isn't just currency, it's experience, it's being supported by the universe and being trusting the universe to support us, and also recognizing when is enough for us, because we can continue to take and take and take and never be satisfied or nourished. You know, abundance is a willingness to live within the system that the universe operates on, which is the system of infinite abundance and unconditional love. But we have to look at it not from we have to stop trying to understand it from a limited human perspective and recognize that we're not meant to understand everything with our tiny little ant brains. But we cut ourselves off from the energy of abundance when we get stuck into fear, when we believe that we cannot change, when we do not grow, when we do not take action. There are so many benefits that we get from things like, for example, just play. You get freedom from the linear mind. You get the opportunity to have some fun. You get the opportunity to be alive and to literally live. Another way of being connected with the energy of abundance is just going out in nature, especially during like spring or summer when things are blooming and they're everywhere. I'm not doing a great job at like describing this, but I feel like you need to remember that abundance is so much more than money, and the ways in which it can flow to you there's infinite ways. And not only that, I feel like you're really being called to ask yourself, when is enough enough? And am I asking for too much out of fear that I'll have enough. Because I don't really think there's ever such thing as too much, unless it's like a physical thing. Like, you can never ask for too much love. You can never ask for too much support. You can never ask for too much divine guidance. But like, you could ask for too much of a resource that like maybe isn't necessary. Like, for example, you know, let's say you're going grocery shopping and you buy all the cantaloupes in the store because you're afraid that you're not going to have any cantaloupes for yourself. Well, now you've got a bunch of cantaloupes that you're not going to be able to eat all of them. They're definitely going to go bad before you get to all of them. And now you've robbed everyone else in your area of the opportunity to eat cantaloupe. So like, part of abundance is also being aware of the fact that like you exist within a realm of other beings, and that you don't exist in a vacuum outside of everything else. And like, part of abundance is recognizing like generosity is important. And it's also important to recognize like when enough is enough for us, so that we leave enough for others, and so that we recognize, you know, what is going to support us and what isn't, because the universe is always going to meet our needs. The universe may not unnecessarily spoil us unless it's part of a need, but you know, that usually doesn't come without something very, very generous first. And part of abundance is about sharing it, about giving it. And you know, and in the past, in ancient cultures, you know, the wealthy ones, well, I'm not going to go into this because I feel like there needs to be more historical accuracy, but I've learned about cultures where like in the past, like the people that were very rich, you know, they had expectations of being very generous with those riches. And if someone was not generous, if they were more of a Scrooge, then they weren't considered to be very wealthy because they didn't have that wealth to share with other people. Very interesting when you think about our leaders, or not our leaders, our billionaires of today. But that's the thing, is like, abundance is so much more than just the universe giving you money. It is about you being connected to a universal energy of death and rebirth and growth and life, and it's so much more complex. But I feel like you're being called to explore that energy and what that energy actually is, and recognize that a lot of mainstream media focused on mass consciousness is designed to keep you fearful and out of alignment with that energy, out of alignment with your truth, out of alignment with anything but fear and stuff like that. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's get you some more affirmations. All right, Spirit. What else? I choose kindness over cool, which I think kindness is cool, to be fair. And I definitely think with that Queen of Cups, that's definitely your vibe. And I think that's the thing too. Another thing that I have beef with is when people say, oh, you're too nice. Like, stop being so nice, because that's not true. There's no such thing as too nice. What they're saying when they say stop being too nice is stop letting people take advantage of you. Stop having poor boundaries. Like, so what you're really being asked to do is recognize how there's a lot of power in being kind, and a lot of power in being that way in the face of someone else's negativity. You know, there are a lot of people that want to choose pettiness, and like, that's fine, that's their journey. But like, if it feels right in your heart to be kind to people, even if they're not kind to you, it's important to remember that there's no such thing as being too kind, but there is such thing as having poor boundaries. You can be kind but also firm, and not allow yourself to be taken advantage of. But I hate that it's worded as being too nice, because that's not the case. It's not nice to have flimsy boundaries and let people take advantage of you. It's not nice to yourself, and it's not nice to that person, because you're enabling that person and you're betraying yourself. So when people say you're too nice, they're wrong. They're saying you have poor boundaries and you should stand up for yourself more. Anyway, what else? I have an attitude of gratitude. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, gratitude is one of the best ways to keep you in the flow of abundance. Like, seriously. Because think about it. Would you want to give someone a gift if like they opened it and they were like, oh, thanks, I still don't have this, I still don't have that, and were like very negative about it and like didn't even care? The universe likes to reward those who are grateful for it. Like, would you want to give a gift to someone if they were super ungrateful? You are the universe, dude. Think about it. Anyway, what else? We have, I hold space for myself and others. And I think that's really important, holding space for yourself. And also recognizing when you do and don't have the capacity to hold space for others, because there may be times where people, like, you know, have a lot going on, and maybe energetically you have a lot going on. So being able to say, hey, like, I'm sorry that you're struggling, but like, I am just not able to hold space right now. Like, I can reach out to you when I do have that space, and just recognizing even when you have that capacity, because that's very powerful. But let's get one more. What did I say? I listen to my intuition and I trust my inner guide. Yeah, tattoo this on your forehead, please. I mean, do what you want, but like, I feel like that one's a big yes. But the back of the deck being, I'm an open channel for creative energy, that aligns with abundance, that right there. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and finish this reading off with some guidance for you moving forward. So this is gonna be from your guardian angels. We have the 9 of emotions, the 9 of cups. This is a magical time in your life where wishes are granted and dreams come true. It may seem that good luck is following you, but actually these happy times are your just reward for being a loving and wonderful person. Your angels are asking you to enjoy your life and have more fun. And that's the thing about this, like, why this negativity is like so heartbreaking for you to deal with, because like there's so much beauty and abundance not only around you already, but coming towards you. And your guides don't want you to miss out on that, because you're afraid that you don't deserve it or something like that. Like, you do not want to look back at this upcoming period of your life and be frustrated that you didn't appreciate it more. You know what I mean? Then you're going to be yearning for it nostalgically, and when you could have enjoyed it when it was there in the present moment. But we also have passion, love for life. I feel like you're really being encouraged to do anything that sets your heart on fire, that makes you feel alive. Like, literally, that gives you that feeling of being alive. Whatever that is for you, anything that you're passionate about, anything that like sets you on fire, do it. As long as it doesn't cause harm to yourself or others, of course. We also have into the unknown, underworld, depth, courage, facing your fears. And that's the thing. I think that a lot of your passion for life comes when you go into the unknown, when you face your fears. If you're like, well, there's nothing that makes me feel passionate. Well, there's nothing that you're currently doing that makes you feel passionate. It's time to take a step back and start exploring, because you never know what that could be for you. We also have divine timing. Everything will make sense soon. Trust that the timing of your life is being taken care of by your angels in the universe. And that's another thing as well, is like we can start to have like really negative thoughts based on like timing, but timing is such an ego thing. Like, it's not realistic to like, first of all, divine timing isn't a date on the calendar. It's created in the present through our thoughts, actions, emotions, energies, all that jazz. But also, you know, divine timing is also something like, especially if like manifestations require other people, it could be that you're ready for something, but someone else isn't. And so it's going to take a little while for them to be ready. And you just have to learn how to like keep in that state and continue working towards, you know, other things in your life while that comes to fruition. But I feel like there's a lot here about you just letting go of the need to understand, and trust that if there's something you're meant to understand, the universe will show it to you. But finally, we have surrender to complete healing. Open fully to the loving, compassionate forces of the universe that support your physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. And I think that is partially the energy of abundance as well. And I feel like what this is about for you is really recognizing that this is your life, dude. Like, you deserve to enjoy it and appreciate it. Stop letting bitter, miserable people rob you of your happiness, or people that are, stop trying to be the lifeguard for people that are drowning when you're trying your best to swim anyway. Like, focus on you and getting to shore. If other people want to get to shore, they'll swim. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten to the water in the first place. But pile 2, that is where I'm going to leave this reading. So thank you guys so much for letting the ads play in the background while you do something else, because that is such an easy and simple way to support me and show appreciation for what I do. Definitely let me know down below how this reading resonated and if you liked it. And be sure to leave a like and all that jazz. Subscribe if you haven't already. Would love to have you part of our little fam here. Other ways you can support me, you can check out my candles. Be sure to use code ASO10 for 10% off. You can check out my merch, which is linked down below, and you can check out my social media or any other videos, especially ones with extendeds. But I really hope that this reading helped, and that it gave you guys the clarity and awareness that you were looking for. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. I love you guys so much. Bye! Hi there, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Celestite and Miss Old Reliable herself, my Rider-Waite, this is my first deck ever, then this is going to be your reading on me fighting your negative thoughts for you. So while I'm shuffling, I really just want you to focus on the deck and set the intention that whatever self-destructive or negative thoughts, energies, feelings that you need to see through at this time or need to see the truth of, just ask that those be brought to the surface. I also just want to mention that if what I am talking about doesn't sound like what's going on in your brain, then that's probably not the reading for you, and I would try a different one. Also, feel free to let me know like how this one resonates and if it's helpful, just because, you know, I like to know those things, and knowing that it is helpful makes it all worth it. But that being said, I'm gonna give these one more good shuffle. Okay, so Pile 3 Spirit, what negative thoughts and energies does Pile 3 need to be aware of at this time? What negative thoughts would you like to bring to Pile 3's attention? Okay, we have the Two of Swords. We have the Ten of Swords. We have the Page of Cups in reverse. We have the Three of Pentacles in reverse, and one more please. We have the Four of Swords in reverse. Okay, wow. All right, so I actually want to start by shuffling this, and I do want to say that I think a lot of these negative thoughts that you're dealing with are remnants of past experiences that you have that are no longer a part of your life, but are very much still a part of your life because they dominate your way of thinking, your beliefs about yourself, and your ability to like feel rested and at peace. I really like, wow. I mean, like, starting off with this Two of Swords while I'm shuffling, we're just going to talk about it. I definitely think one of the reasons why you may be, like, I don't even think that this is necessarily negativity. One of the things that you might be experiencing a lot is energetic drain. And I think that's because you may be mentally draining yourself from rumination. When in reality, I think there's clear answers that you know in your heart, but you ruminate anyway, either because that state of rumination is like normal and more comfortable, or you're afraid of making the necessary changes that you know will serve you. And it's almost like the rumination is a way of like keeping you out of the energy of taking action. But let's just go ahead and see. Spirit, can you clarify this Two of Swords for me? What is the truth behind this Two of Swords for Pile 3? Okay, here we go. So we have the theme of bliss, and the trigger statement is, why am I here? And the truth statement is, I make a difference. You will have the motivation you need to express your light. Know that what you do today makes the world a better place. And so this is really interesting because I think there's a part of you that's afraid of being peaceful and also afraid of experiencing joy, maybe because there's a part of you that feels like you don't deserve it, or maybe because there's a part of you that hasn't experienced those feelings in so long that you may either feel like they're impossible, or you may feel like an aversion to feeling them because maybe you thought at one point it wasn't possible to feel those things, or that those emotions were like just lies. I feel like one thing that you may be having a hard time dealing with is it seems like your heart and soul are really ready to outgrow the past and really ready to take the lead in your life and help you live a life that is more embodied, in the sense that you're not trying to avoid life anymore, but rather you're a part of it and you accept what comes with living. You know, a main tenet of Buddhism is that life is suffering, right? And, you know, our ego can tell us a lot of stories about suffering and about what we think that means for us. And I feel like in your case, a lot of your past suffering, especially suffering that you experienced when you were a child and you were helpless and you were defenseless and, you know, no one was there to stick up for you, no one was there to show you a different way. I feel like there's a huge part of you that's almost avoidant of healing or avoidant of letting go of the past, because I think, one, there's a part of you that's still very angry. And I think that, one, it's absolutely okay to be angry. It's normal to be angry. Like, sometimes the truth does make us angry when we realize, like, when we look back and realize, you know, how defenseless we were and how adults treated us in certain ways that were just unacceptable, or ways in which we were harmed or taught that we are less than, you know. When we realize the truth and when we see things from a different perspective, it's normal to be angry. It's normal to feel a lot of ways. But I think one thing that you might be dealing with that you're really frustrated with is it seems like you're ready to move forward. Your heart is ready to move on, but it seems like your brain isn't, in a way where I think that your ego might be attached to the idea of like retribution or justice or revenge. And I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong for you, but I do feel like if you've been thinking that revenge or retribution is going to bring you closure, I'm here to tell you that I don't think that that's actually the case. I think that that is an outcome that your ego has attached to. But even if you did get that, it wouldn't bring you any sort of healing or any sort of peace that you're actually seeking. I think that you're attached to this idea that there should be some closure when it comes to your past, and maybe closure from multiple people, or just closure from a significant person that really did a number on you. And it feels like it's like, even though you know it's over, like that time of your life is over, it seems like for whatever reason, it's like you can't move forward. Like mentally, you're very much still there. And I think that part of the reason why you're very much still there is because that there's a lot of unresolved wounds and a lot of unresolved pain that is still needing to be processed, and a lot of like compassion and care that is being needed to be addressed towards yourself. I would highly recommend, if you're not like getting help in some sort of way, to maybe consider doing that if it's feasible for you, just because I do feel like you're working through a lot, and I think there's a lot of anger that you still need to move through in order to feel more okay with like letting go of these situations mentally. And I feel like that's the thing, is there are some people that have very unhealthy relationships with anger, where, you know, they might not ever express anger or think that anger is a bad emotion because of, you know, maybe people who did abusive things to them because they were angry, or because they just don't like that energy. But anger is a necessary emotion, and it is okay to be angry. Now, how you react and behave because of that anger is a different story. That can be not okay. But feeling anger is absolutely okay. And I think actually one of the things that you need to know is that it is okay to be angry. It is okay to feel fired up and frustrated about things, and feel fired up and frustrated about your past. But it's really important to ask yourself, where are you fueling that anger? Where are you directing it towards? Are you directing it towards people from your past? Are you directing it towards yourself? Are you like, where's that anger going, and how is it being processed? Because if you're suppressing it, or if you are placing the source of your anger on other people, and also telling yourself that this anger cannot be resolved until something between us is resolved, or until I have my closure and my satisfaction from this situation, like that is something that could be keeping you stuck in an unnecessary cycle. And I really think you're being called to ask yourself, you know, is my heart really attached to this, or is just my idea of getting retribution attached to this? And I'm not asking you to like judge yourself. Whatever the answer is, it's okay. But I think you might want to ask yourself if like that goal of retribution or revenge or whatever that may be, like, is that really going to bring you that peace that you're wanting? Or is it really just enabling this energy within you that makes you feel trapped, that makes you feel like you can't move forward, that makes you feel stuck. In a way, it's almost like you may be allowing certain people to continue to hold power over you because they still occupy your mind, because you still have an emotional reaction when you think about them or when you think about those experiences. And I think part of your healing process is maybe not confronting them directly or, you know, getting revenge on them, but rather realizing that the best revenge in this situation is living a good life and also not letting that person, those people, those experiences live in your head rent-free anymore and have a say in your emotional state or in the ways that you act, especially if like you have grown a lot as a person and you would never do what you think about like in this situation and any other situation. I definitely feel like that's a sign that you've outgrown the consciousness that would have done that thing. But because, you know, these past experiences that are painful bring you back into that, bring you back into like a very emotional state or like just a very like angry, bitter, resentful state, it makes then acting from that place of lower consciousness seem like viable and understandable. But if you really look at it from your heart space, I think you'll be like, yeah, no, it's not necessary for me to get this thing. In fact, it might be making it more difficult for me to heal these wounds from the past because I'm placing the healing on wounding others, and that's not gonna, it's not gonna resolve anything. Like the wounds originated in the first place because hurt people, so that those people already have wounds to deal with. And while it's not okay that they hurt you or did anything like that, and I'm not gonna say that like, I don't know anything. I'm just a pair of talking heads on the internet. But what I do know is that, you know, sometimes we think like, you know, one day, like we think that it's important to get revenge, but then you realize like, oh, the best revenge is actually just like living your own life and doing what makes you happy and not letting people or situations or experiences that make you feel like shit continue to do that. But I also think that you're really being called to recognize that you have so many wonderful gifts and attributes, and you're such a blessing and an asset to this world. And I know you know that. Even if sometimes you think that you're not, you know that you are. And I think that there is a part of you that's heavily attached to people and experiences that affirmed for you that you weren't worthy, affirmed for you that you weren't enough, because that allowed your own self-destructive and like self-hating impulses to like, it fed those and enables those to keep you held down in a way where you're technically keeping yourself safe because you're not going outside of your comfort zone, but you're also not growing, you're not evolving, and you're not healing, and you're staying stuck in the past. And if you've been telling yourself, if you've been getting mad at readers for giving you the same message over and over and over again, you have no one to be angry with but yourself, because they are just showing you that you are existing in the same energies that you have been. And you might be saying, no, I'm not. I just know that this needs to happen in order for me to be able to release this. And that's not true. Part of releasing is learning to be okay, is giving yourself closure, because you don't know if closure will ever come otherwise. And that not having that closure can do more harm than good, you know what I mean? But I feel like in this case, especially, like, there's a lot of things that are done and that are over, and it's like, you know, like you're ready for more light, you're ready for more joy, but the stories that you are telling yourself and the anger that you feel around them, that is a big reason why you're not moving forward. And that's not to say that you should, you know, beat yourself up or be mad at yourself, but like, if you're directing anger towards anyone because you're getting something that you don't want to see or hear, I would ask kindly, as someone who's been on the receiving end of that many times, to look at that and ask yourself before you do something potentially destructive, is that the truth? But also to recognize that, like I said, your anger is okay. It's about the ways that you express it. And if you're not giving yourself an outlet to an outlet to express it in a healthy way, then it has no choice but to sit and stir inside of you. And that's not very helpful or useful. And I feel like part of what needs to be healed is this recognition that even though something hurt you, even though you've dealt with a lot of pain, and that there are things that have hurt you and people that have done you dirty, treated you unfairly, that doesn't mean that they need to have a hold over your life for the rest of it. And that they have that the way that they treated you, that is not the reality of how everyone in the world is going to see you. In fact, most people do not see you that way and will never see you that way. But I think that there is a real need to recognize how these wounds have impacted you, and how there's still a lot of healing to be done here, and how holding on to things and retelling yourself stories about it isn't serving you, and is actually keeping you from more joy and more peace. So let's keep going. Can you clarify the Ten of Swords, Spirit? What's the truth behind the Ten of Swords? We have amplify. So the trigger statement is, I can't get anything right. And the true statement is, I am in divine time. Harness your loving energy and watch as one miracle unfolds after another. And I think this is actually something important to remember too, is like, I feel like you have to be very careful what you feed energy into, because whatever you feed energy into builds. And I think that this to me is like an Achilles heel situation, where like you could be making so much progress, you can be in such a positive state of mind, and then something brings you back to a point in the past that's particularly painful for you, and your mind gets stuck on it. And then you start telling you stories about it, you start interpreting it, you start getting mad, you start feeling the emotions with it, and you just get fucking pissed. I'm feeling the rage. Like, I'm feeling it, Mr. Krabs. I get it. But when you're in that emotional spiral, when that tornado starts working itself up, or hurricane, whatever natural disaster you would like to choose, you're really being asked, that's when you're being asked to get out of your head immediately, because your head is going to come up with interpretations that are not useful, and that will just feed into the emotional spiral that's happening. We can't always control emotional spirals. And that's the thing, is like, you might be doing really well, and then this thing happens that triggers you back into that state. And rather than feeding into that and going into that whole dramatic spiral, that's when you want to take a step back and say, whoa, what is this showing me? Whoa, okay, I need to ground myself, or I need to take some space for myself. I need to take a shower, do something to just get you out of your head at the very least, and breathe through whatever you're experiencing. Because I think you don't have the opportunity to process and observe what's going on with you, because when those spirals happen, your brain is immediately going into stories, coming up with interpretations. Your brain is spiraling as quickly as your emotions are. And so when that happens, it's hard for you to gain more clarity and awareness of what needs your attention, what needs your love, because all parts of you are caught up in the spiral, and none of you is available to like take a look at what's really going on. And I feel like you might be really frustrated that these things come back up, but the reality is that they're going to keep coming back up until they're released and resolved. And even then, they can be released and resolved, and they can come back up still and need more healing. But the thing is that the more you learn what is going to help you release these things, the more you learn what is going to soothe you, that is going to bring you more peace, then those things that you learn, those become like tools in your toolkit, so that when this stuff does come back around, you're able to handle it in more graceful and more loving ways than you were before, because now you have more tools, and it's a lot easier to use them because they're not foreign to you anymore. You know how they work, you know how they support you. And yeah, and I really just think it's important to remember that you're being so supported, and like there's so much loving energy around you, and so many people and like spirits that want to see you thrive, that want to see you succeed. Like, you're breaking a lot of generational curses, you're breaking a lot of heavy shit, and it's not easy. And so I don't want to sit here and be like, you know, I don't want you to think that like I'm judging you or anyone's judging you for this. Like, this is not something to judge yourself for. This is something to have compassion for yourself for, because there are parts of you that, even though you are in the present moment, they're very much still rooted in the past, and they can't come to the present until they feel safe enough and have enough support to be able to feel like the past has been resolved enough to be in the present. Does that make sense? And the fact that we have the Page of Cups here, I feel like there's a part of you that with these past energies and experiences, it causes you to fall back into a state of emotional immaturity that's not normal for you. Like you might think or say things or like want to do things, and you're like observing it and you're like, that is not who I truly am. But it's almost like you can't help it, and you might feel a little bit of shame around the fact that you're experiencing that. But the awareness of it is what's important, because you could want to do things, but if you don't do them, then there you go. Like, for example, when someone is driving slowly in front of me in the left lane, I want to do things so vile and hateful that I can't speak them out loud, because one, YouTube would punish me, and two, it's not the truth of what I actually believe or who I am. It's just that for some reason, when my monkey brain is driving a car and you're driving slowly in front of me and I can't get through because you're going the same speed as the person in the right lane, I feel a type of visceral anger that I can't quite explain. And truthfully, I'm not gonna go into it, but like, I'm getting mad just thinking about it. Like, it's, get out of the left lane. Okay, anyway. I mean, I guess if you drive, well, I guess it depends on like what lane you drive and what country you're from. But if you live in these United States of America and you drive slow in the left lane, I'm judging you. Anyway, like with peace and love, I'm judging you. Until you get over the right lane, then you're good. But anyway, with that being said, did you see the emotional immaturity that I just displayed? Because I do. And I think it's an excellent example of how we are all susceptible to those emotions and those experiences. That was an emotional outburst that I have not felt since the last time I was behind a car going really slow. Actually, not the last time. The last time I was actually really chill about it. But that was because I was in a good mood. But anyway, with that being said, I feel like I literally just demonstrated to you how easy it is to fall back into that. So don't beat yourself up. But the awareness of it is important. Because, like, do I ever actually do any of the things to the person in front of me that I want to do? No. It's just a way for me to cope with the fact that there is someone so irritating in front of me, so either selfish, distracted, or dumb that they can't recognize how selfish their behavior is. Yeah, that makes me mad. But I stoop to their level when I get upset too, and when I get worked up over it, because I can't control it. I can't control the fact that they're incompetent. All I can control is the fact that I am competent, and that as soon as there is an open space in the right lane, you bet your ass I'm gonna pass them in the right lane so that they feel shame. I shouldn't have to pass anyone on the right lane. If I have to do that, shame. Shame upon you, upon your bloodline, shame. Anyway, that is the only time like where I can like genuinely say like there is not an ounce of light or love within me. Get out of my way. We all have our thing, and that's the point. It is okay for that to happen. Part of me and my growth is needing to be okay with that and surrender that and release that. But you know what? If I get mad and want to be angry about it, I give myself that. Because it would be worse for me to suppress it and pretend like I'm not mad than to just release it through a frustrating rant, through an angry rant. You know what I mean? And I think in this case, you might be really beating yourself up for like regressing in that way. But as I just demonstrated to you, we all have the capacity to be emotionally immature, and we all have the capacity to fall back into old ways of being. And even if it's just in certain circumstances, we all have it, and we can all grow and we can all improve. You know, same way those people can improve their driving, I can improve my ability to handle that in more emotionally mature ways. But there will be times where I scream. very loudly. Hopefully so loudly that they'll hear it from their car. Actually, probably not. I don't know. There's a part of me that feels so unsettled because there are just so many people that drive like that every day. And it's like, do they know? Do they know how much they suck? Anyway, let's clarify this Page of Cups. Okay, yeah, we're, I'm sorry, pile 3. We are doing a lot today. Okay, there we go. We have the solar plexus chakra with the theme of belief. The trigger statement is it is too late. And the true statement is, I am free to believe. You are clearing away beliefs, energy, and memories that no longer serve you, so the necessary decisions will be made. And I think that's the thing. I think there's a part of you there was a part of you, okay, well, I'm hearing this quote, and I think it was George Carlin that said it, but I think it was him that said, inside every cynic is a disappointed idealist. And I think that in your case, there is a part of you that is very averse to believing in good things, averse to having hope, because the child version of you had that. And the people that you were in the hands of, whether it be at school, at home, whatever it may be, they sorely disappointed you and didn't, like, you know, they did not hold and support that loving part of you. And understandably, I think there's a part of you that's very resentful. And there's a part of you that almost doesn't want to believe in the idea that things can get better and that there is hope and that there are beautiful things ahead because of how much time you've spent in the opposite energy. And there might be a part of you that has to come to terms with this grieving process of, wow, I took on these beliefs that were very self-destructive and that didn't serve me, and I forgive myself for that. But I also have to grieve around the fact that I've spent so much time of my life living in this way that didn't allow me to be playful or hopeful or didn't have any room for fun. And there is part of you that might be resistant to that out of like fear of the pain that might come with the realization of like, oh, I've been feeding into these beliefs for so long and they didn't serve me. But the reality of the situation is, if you don't come to terms with them, if you don't face them, and then you're just going to be continuing to live in a way that isn't enjoyable for you, and nobody deserves that. And you can't change the past. You're not going to stop living that way. You're not going to be able to go back in time and change that. Like, all you have is the present moment and the future. Do you really want to waste even more time? Like, but even then, you know, whatever, nothing is truly a waste of time. Everything serves in its own way. But I feel like one important thing for you to remember is that you deserve to be hopeful, and you deserve to have positive experiences, and you deserve to feel the wonderful parts of life, not just the hard parts. You know, Earth is a place of polarity, and, you know, we experience these dark depths. What's the opposite of that? Is bliss. And that's where your intuition is trying to lead you to like joy beyond your imagining, to experiences that are so powerful and meaningful. It makes all the struggle and all of the pain and all of the challenge worth it. And I really feel like you're being asked to take a look at the fact that a lot of the people that implanted beliefs in you were deeply wounded and immature themselves. Even though they were in adult bodies, they were still just as much children as you were, and still are. We're all just children in big bodies, right? So I really feel like you're being asked to reconnect with your inner child in a way where you're actually hopeful for the future and believe that good things can come to you, and that you are deserving of those things, and that you deserve to feel joy. You deserve to have fun. It is not too late. Like, and that's another thing too, is like, especially, it really doesn't matter how old you are. Like, we always have this belief that like we're too old, or like, well, we can't do something. That's just not true. Like, you can start over at 90. Like, you really can. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. And the belief that you're too old for something, like, you're too old to believe in love, you're too old to believe in positivity, you're too old to believe in, like, it's just not true. And it's taking you away from the opportunity to believe in the good things that want to come to you. You can't, like I said, you can't change the past, but you are running the risk of living your entire present and future in the past if it's not dealt with in a way that brings you more peace and allows you to let go more. Does that make sense? Okay, let's clarify the Three of Pentacles in reverse. What's the truth? Okay. So we have the solar plexus again, and this is resonance. The trigger statement is, I am right, and the true statement is, I am open to the unknown. You are being shown what is dissonant in your life. Allow the beliefs that are not serving you to fall away and be open to your bright future. Which I love, because literally in this Ten of Swords, we see that bright future coming, right? And I'm not gonna lie, there might be some of you that are really not liking me right now. I'm actually like, some of y'all probably already like clicked off because you don't want to hear me talk to you about this, which I understand. I hope they come back and listen to this if it's meant for them. But there's a part of you that may not want to admit that the way you've been going about things is wrong. And it's just your ego's attachment to it. There's no such thing as right or wrong. There's just stuff. And our brain creates interpretations of it. And I feel like because you've had mental and emotional investment in the way and like your past beliefs and the way that you've seen things, there's a part of you that is really perturbed by the idea of letting go of those beliefs, because that means that you were wrong. But let's not even look at it as you were wrong. Let's look at it as the way that you've been approaching things is not supporting the person you are now. And whether it was right for you at a time, it's clearly not right for you now. So rather than looking at it as you were wrong or dumb or mess something up, you didn't do any of that. You're just coming into awareness that what you've been doing is not working. So we need to change it so that it can support you. And this is a lot about recognizing as well that it's okay to ask for help, and it's also okay to recognize that like you're going to change as you grow, as you evolve, you're going to change. And I think as well, you know, there may have been people in your life that were very hell-bent on getting you to see how they were right. And they could have made your life a lot harder to try and prove that to you. And let me just say that the best way to show that person wrong is to thrive and live a good life. But I feel like there is this fear of the unknown because what has been known to you is not very bright or loving or positive. It's been traumatic. It's been painful. It's been dark. It hasn't been fun. And I think that you're being called to recognize that the unknown certainly can't be scarier than anything you've already experienced. And while we can't anticipate what's in the unknown, it's better than staying in what's the same, especially when the same is this, and it's keeping you stuck and frustrated and disempowered. Because there's a lot here about empowering yourself and recognizing that you deserve to feel empowered. And I think that there's a part of you that's really resistant to being more open with others and working with others because you are afraid of them disagreeing with you, or you're afraid of them not understanding why you see the world this way. And I think that your higher self is really asking you to recognize that you don't even want to see the world this way anymore. There's just a part of you that is afraid of letting go of that worldview because change is scary and it's hard and it requires growth. And it also requires us to humble ourselves and recognize where we've been wrong and where we haven't been fair, and maybe where we haven't been fair to ourselves and where we've been deluding ourselves. There's a lot that you have to deconstruct that can be quite painful, but the peace that it brings is so worth it. Because let's talk about that. You either don't get very much sleep or you don't like going to sleep because you're left alone with your thoughts. And I would be willing to bet that when you're left alone with your thoughts, the first things that come up are embarrassing things that happened to you, messed up things that happened to you, things that like happened to you that weren't fair. And these are all just things that your brain has had in store that it feels are still a current threat that it's looking to have addressed. And so advice on that, one of the things that I do is I try to have, like, first of all, like when I go to bed, like I have music on, like I'll put like sound bowls, or I'll put like rain on. Like I have to have a sound because that just helps. So that could be one thing that could be useful for you. But also I think that when a thought like that comes, like an embarrassing past moment, the best thing that you can do is say, hey brain, I know you're showing this to me right now because you feel like this is unresolved, but it is resolved. And as far as we can be concerned, that time doesn't even exist anymore. We're here now. And our reality is peace, joy, rest, whatever you want it to be. But I think I feel like even just tying up loose ends as they come up to you, as they come up to your conscious awareness, and like kind of explore them and say, okay, why is this being shown to me? Brain, why are you showing this to me? And if it's just, because this thing happened and it was scary, or we were embarrassed, or whatever it might be, you can say, yeah, that did happen, but we're fine now. We're here in bed. Like, one thing I like to do is like take notice of like all the sensory things. Like, I can feel the sheets on my body. I can feel the pillow under my head. I can hear the rain, and like, you know what I mean? I think there's a lot here about just grounding yourself and not allowing yourself to get swept up in like the trauma of like the mentality that you've been in. And I don't say that in like a bad way. I just say that in a way where it's like, this is how your brain has learned to cope with your past experiences, but your past is not your present. And unless you want your present and future to be similar to your past, you have to resolve it and go through it in order to come out on the other side. And what you're going to realize is like, one, you're going to be so much lighter, and two, you're just going to realize like, you're going to have so much compassion for yourself, because you're going to realize like you were just processing pain in the best way you knew how. And unfortunately, that way you knew how to created other pain for other sources of pain that you then had to resolve. But it led to a lot of growth and healing and awareness, and that's something to be damn proud of. So, Spirit, can we clarify the Four of Swords here? Beautiful. So we have freedom. The trigger statement is, I have no choice. And the true statement is, I create my day, my life. It is time to play. Do something different today to shift your routine. So yeah, I feel like, especially if you go about your routine like on autopilot, I feel like you're really being encouraged to do things differently. And also you're being encouraged to do things that bring you mental rest. So whether that is like listening to a guided meditation or doing things to slow your brain down. And you might be someone that's really uncomfortable with slowing your brain down. I am that way, where I don't really like to sit down and meditate because I've got like 50 things going on and I don't know, and then I don't want to slow down. But once I actually do, it feels really good and I realize why I need to. So I think what you need to recognize is that part of freedom is recognizing the choices actually open to you and whether you are being open to them and considering them as well. I feel like there are elements of your routine right now that don't give you the opportunity to like discharge energy. So whether you do that through like walking, through journaling, through meditating, through dancing, through whatever it may be, I just feel like you need more ways to kind of get out of your head and get into your body. But we also have earthly. The trigger statement is, I hate my body, and the true statement is, my body is my temple. Remember that you are a spiritual being having an earthly experience. Revere your loyal, sacred body. And man, I don't think there is a human on this planet that doesn't have issues or insecurities with their body. And you know, the saddest thing is that our bodies are incredible. Like, anyone who has studied the body, like my medical people comment this, like the body is so nuanced and incredible, and there's so much we don't understand about it. It is actually like unfucking believable that we're in these bodies that do so much, that process so much, that have so much awareness, that have like the ability to like evolve, the ability, like the human body is incredible. And what does the human ego do with it? It shames it. It belittles it. It creates this notion that our bodies must look a certain way in order to be valid. It creates a certain notion that our bodies are to be admired by others, or our bodies are to be acceptable by others. Not that our bodies are here to help us create. Our bodies are here to help us experience sensory shit. Our bodies are here to help us live a human experience, and our bodies are the vessel that carries our soul. Like, that's some gnarly metal stuff, right? And we're so focused on the appearance and the shape and all just crap that doesn't even matter, that we forget what a gift it is to have one in the first place. There's a lot riding on us being disconnected from our bodies, because our bodies not only hold a lot of wisdom and intuition, but also if we're disconnected from our bodies, then we can't really take a whole lot of action in the material realm. We're not like, we could have all of this wisdom and all of this divinity within us, but if we can't ground it, we can't change anything. And I really think that you are coming into yourself in a way where you're reclaiming your body as a protective vessel, as a vessel that you deserve, that deserves your love, that deserves your support, because whether you love it or not, it is still keeping you alive, and it is taking and enduring whatever treatment you are giving it, and it is continuing to support you and do its best to help you live anyway. Like, our bodies are actually so incredible, and it is an actual crime the way that we treat people because of their bodies. The amount of like social constructs around our bodies, around health and wellness, and there's a lot there that obviously we don't have time to dive into. But one of the saddest truths is that, you know, our bodies are the home for our soul in this lifetime, and if we don't forge a connection with it, we never realize how incredible and lovable it truly is. If we buy into the idea that it's not worthy of love unless we're starving it or unless we're altering it, like, that's just not the case. Like, it's not fair, and it's not true, and it's not real. But unfortunately, that's how humans are. You know, we seek perfection. We seek perfection, not realizing perfection doesn't exist. And that's a part of ego. That's what ego wants. Ego wants everything perfect and no issues. And I think part of you embracing your life journey and your life on this planet this time around is a lot of that healing will come through healing your relationship with your body and learning to love it and learning to care for it in ways that are nourishing for you. I think that's going to be really helpful. And I also think recognizing that, like, you deserve to feel comfortable in your body, you deserve to honor your body. Like, your body does so much for you without even realizing it. Like, the body continues even when the mind, heart, and spirit don't want to. Like, that is the power of, like, the body is an incredible vessel. And I feel like you're really being called to recognize that all that energy that's in your head, it's meant to be dispersed to all areas of your body. And it's going to be really hard for you to be aware of what's going on in your body if, like, all your energy is condensed to your headspace and, like, a little bit of it outside of yourself. But with that being said, I think a lot of your negative thoughts around your body, I think it's time to take a step back and not look at your body from a place of form, but rather a place of function. Instead of being grateful that your nose looks a certain way, be grateful that your nose can smell things. Instead of wishing that your eyes were a different shape, be grateful that you can see. You know, there are so many things that we take for granted because we don't realize what it's like to live without them. And I think that there's a lot more joy directly available to you by just expressing gratitude for what you do have, for what is going well, for what you can do. Like, you know, those are beautiful things. End of rant. Okay, we're gonna get you some affirmations now and see what affirmations would be most beneficial for you at this time. So, Spirit, what affirmations does pile 3 need to tell themselves at this time? Yeah. Wherever I look, I see something to be grateful for. Yeah, sorry, I was burping. And the fact that I was burping during that, I don't think is a coincidence. I think that gratitude will help you release a lot of negativity that you've been dealing with, because it's not even that it's like your negativity. I think it's just when you get stuck in a negative headspace, it's easy to see fear and lack, and it's hard to see what we do have and what we should be grateful for, and because there's a lot to be grateful for. Okay, despite how much pain, hardship, and suffering humans endure. Anyway, what other affirmations for... Everything I need is already within me. Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is like, that is such an important realization for you, because I feel like if you are placing like a point of healing or a point of release on another person or something outside of yourself, you're not looking at that situation accurately, because there's something within you that could do that for you that you're not seeing. We also have, I laugh freely and loudly. I'm proud of the space that I take up. And that's a thing too, you know, especially with bodies and things like that, is like, you know, that fear of taking up space and that belief that we shouldn't, like, you're here for a reason. You would not exist if you were not meant to be here, and you do deserve to take up space. We also have, I am patient with myself, which I think is so important. Like, you do need to be patient with yourself, especially with this process of growth, because like it won't happen linearly. You won't wake up tomorrow and just magically not have the issues that you have today. It will be a process that you continue to address and deal with. And there will be times where it's not very prevalent, and there will be others where it is. The more you can just be patient and flow with what is, the less mental energy you will waste trying to understand why something is happening, and you'll be able to just accept what is and move with it and work with it to your best ability. But finally, I love that we're finishing off with this one. Each breath is a fresh start, and on the back of the deck we have I am enough, which I think is just so true. You are enough, pile 3. And I think it's important. You shouldn't even be dictating things by days. You should be dictating things by moments. Like, okay, like, you know, for example, like, let's say you had a bad day and like, okay, tomorrow will be better. But if you, the next morning, make a mistake in the morning, that doesn't mean the rest of the day has to be bad. You say, oh, I messed up. I did something that I shouldn't have done. Let me breathe through that. Okay. Why did I do that? Let me address that. Why? How am I feeling because I did that? Not very great. What can I do to show myself love right now and reset the energy? Like, there's so much you can do. I feel like your worst enemy right now is your mind, in the sense that your mind will make you believe that things are much worse than they really are, or run away with you in ways where you feel out of control. But in reality, like, you are in control, and you deserve to feel that control. So to finish off this reading, we're just going to go ahead and do a little guidance. So this guidance card is going to be from your guardian angels. We have the Knight of Wands. Something new and exciting related to creativity or your career comes to your attention. You feel an eagerness to learn, and you're ready to get going. Although you may feel insecure, do it anyway. This card represents someone in your life, or maybe you, who is creative, enthusiastic, and fascinated by life, and who wants to try everything. So this is the energy that you're meant to be getting into. You could meet someone with this energy that helps inspire that within you, or maybe you know someone who is like this, who's trying to inspire you to do things differently, and maybe your guardian angels are asking you to consider their perspective, because they may have a lot of valuable insight for you that you will see when you let go of the idea of needing to be right. But I also think that this is a lot about getting into creative energy whenever. I also think that this energy is really beneficial for you in terms of career, because it's hard to be confident in yourself when your inner world is in a state of turmoil. It's hard to feel good about life, and it's hard to show up as your best self when you don't feel great about who you are, or, you know, you don't feel great about your past. So I really do think that this could be a powerful opportunity for you to be more present and get more connected to yourself. But we also have creation, expansion in your life. So this is once again saying, be creative, do things that are creative, because that is going to build in ways that you can't even foresee yet. And it's also going to get you out of your head in a way that allows you to be more intuitive and less rigid and methodical. We have thank you, gratitude, appreciating what's sustaining you. So I think the first thing you need to do right now, pile 3, is thank your body. Thank your body for being here. Thank your body for supporting you. Thank your body for protecting you. Thank your body for being your home, and apologize to yourself and your body for treating it in ways that were not loving and that are not loving, because we're all guilty of that. Let's be real. And I think our bodies, more than anything, deserve to be cherished and held and nurtured and loved and honored for all that they do for us. So thank you, ASO's body, for sustaining ASO so that I can give messages to you, and so that you can do the same. Please thank your body. Anyway, we also have forgive, whether in person or in your mind. Forgive and move forward. The only person you are hurting by holding on to resentment is yourself. And that's exactly it. Is like, you don't need to be in this painful state anymore. And you don't have to, forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. And you don't have to forgive them or what they did, but you can forgive yourself for how you coped with it, and you can forgive yourself for the beliefs that you cultivated because of it. And finally, there we go. We have surrender outdated beliefs about yourself. Let go of limiting ideas about yourself that originate from the past. Then you can own your power and soar in your life. And that's what you deserve to do, pile 3. You deserve to own your power and soar in life. And I know you will. This is just a wonderful opportunity for you to look in the mirror in a way that allows you to see the truth, in a way that doesn't discourage you, but rather empowers you to make the choices necessary to get yourself to where you truly want to be, and to also, you know, develop the tools necessary to support yourself, nurture yourself, and be kind to yourself. So pile 3, that is where I'm going to leave this reading. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background, because that's one of the simplest and easiest ways this shows support for me and what I do. So thank you to everyone who does that. If you would like to support me in other ways, you can like this video, comment down below, let me know how it resonates. You can subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can also check out my candles. Be sure to use code ASO10 for 10% off. You can check out my merch. You can check out my social media. But yeah, I think that's all I have. So thank you guys so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I really hope this reading helped. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye!